This episode of the Accounting Insiders podcast is brought to you in part by Xero. Xero is a powerful cloud accounting software that improves efficiencies across your practice. With all client data stored on a single unified ledger, you and your clients can easily access and collaborate on the same set of books. Xero's advisor tools and automation solutions reduce time-consuming manual tasks and put data entry on autopilot. Work faster and more efficiently than ever before with Xero. Visit xero.com/accounting insiders to learn more. Hello and welcome to, I guess this would be called the Q&A follow-up to yesterday's session. Today is August the 29th, and this is a Q&A follow-up session that's for members only of our Be Insightful community, and it's following up on Chris Panek's session on, I can't remember what the title of it is. Do you have the title from yesterday?
Yeah, it was goal setting to finish the year strong.
There we go. Maybe my goal should have been to look at the title of yesterday's webinar that I sat in on and listened to and actually paid attention to. So, but thank you, Chris, for taking some time out of your schedule to join us and to talk a little bit further about that. We're going to take advantage of this time and just really just make a podcast out of around the handout that you provided yesterday. And I'm going to have to look over here to get that handout pulled up on my screen. Hold on one second. And it was, this handout is different from the actual presentation itself, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So during the presentation, we touched on a lot of different areas as far as goal setting goes. And I asked a lot of questions. And within the guide, I wanted to make sure that I had all of the questions included so that the attendees didn't necessarily have to take notes the whole time. I really wanted them to be thinking about things, thinking about their goals and what they wanted to do moving forward, get into more of that mindset, and then to be able to go back, if you want to call it, do your homework, where you grab the guide and then really dig deeper into some of the questions that I asked.
Great. So I'm going to, even though this will be pushed out both as a podcast and as a video site, so I'm going to share that handout. Let's see here. Are you seeing that?
I am, yep.
Okay, great. Let me move this here, get it out of the way. And I think a good spot to start here is just that four-step process overview. And when you're working, because you work with clients, is it mostly CPAs or people in the accounting profession, or are you outside of that as far as clients on your coaching?
Yeah, so I do coach with anybody that kind of comes in, but the majority of the clients that I usually see are normally accountants, CPAs, a lot of business owners, and other people who have higher stress professions is what I normally am working with. So, but yeah, we're
Okay.
mainly working on like the top three things that we kind of work on are mainly like reducing stress, really figuring out how they can manage their time, increase their productivity, and then really achieve the goals that they're trying to get. And then also the last thing is really just improving that lifestyle. So if you want to think about like the work-life balance, that comes into play a lot. Also, in a lot of the things that we're doing as well.
Got it. And so in your four-step process overview, so we're looking at clarifying values and setting intentions and kind of what your possible future is, and then, or what's possible for your future, then setting your goals, creating the action plans and accountability. And I think for me, that's always my challenge has been accountability. And even I would think too, the action plan, because I can create it, may not be creating the problem. The problem is more the delivering and taking action or having someone that can take action. Because a lot of what we do in our business requires a lot of time consuming actions in order to get to where we need to go. Like if somebody download a white paper, let's say, well, in order to capture all their information and then to put them into a feed, right, we need to have those things laid out on the front end. And we've not been real strong about that. But so your third point, overcoming obstacles and limiting beliefs and building strategies, like my limiting belief right there of, oh, we're just not structured to really take advantage of it. Well, we are. We just need to take the time and plan it out. Then big Mo, right? Momentum and sustainable growth. So so you put together this questions, kind of a clarifying. Now I don't think we want to go through every single one of them because you've got 24, right?
Yeah,
So
there's a
of
lot.
those 20, what's that?
There's a lot of them, right. I did ask a lot of questions yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the point would be, let's say if somebody watched, even whether it's an archive or if they were participating yesterday, so they have this, they go back now and then just answer these questions, right? And this is kind of the process that you take people through when you're working with them as a client, right? And we start asking questions. What is it that you want to change, or what is it that you want to obtain? Would you say there's any? We'll just maybe highlight of these six questions, which ones, I don't know if you can say there's any that are more important than the others, but when you hone in with the client, are there any that you get the most pushback on or that resonate really well with people that you really highlight?
Yeah, because what I see a lot, especially when working with high stress professionals, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head also when you were saying, you have a lot of things that you're doing in your, if you want to call quote unquote job, that you know that you need to do on a daily basis. I have the same things in my accounting practice, so many other accountants that I'm working with. It just comes natural to sit at your desk and start doing the things, making sure you're meeting the deadlines and those types of things. But then when we start throwing things in, and I think so much for accountants, especially because I just feel like um, we would much rather be doing our work, our accounting work, than start looking at our feelings or like what we really want in our life or things like that, because it just comes so naturally for us. So I think when you're looking at these questions, so often when I first start working with clients, where they really struggle with is what is it that they even want in their life? They're just so busy running the day to day, working in their jobs. When you ask, like, what would that perfect life be? Or like that question number one, what is it that you really want to change in your life? They're a little bit like set back a little bit. They're like, well, I really haven't even thought of it. I hear that so often. So a lot of these questions are really just starting to help people like pull apart what is it that you really want in your life? Do you want to spend more time with your family? Is it that you want to have a little bit less stress in your job? What are processes that we can put in place and different things like that? But until you really start answering these questions, you don't really know like the direction that you want to be going. You don't know what that gap is between where you are right now and what it is that you really want your future to be.
Gotcha. And so for the people who can't see this, I'm going to read them off real quickly and then we'll go down to the next page. So question one was, what is it you want to change in your life? Question two, what do you want your future to look like? Question three, ask yourself how you want your life to look 1 year from today. Question four, who do you want to become when reaching your goal? Question five, what is the risk if you don't accomplish your goal? And question six, do you want to be happier, healthier, wealthier, more efficient, or confident? I'm going to go back actually to question number three, and that was ask yourself how you want your life to look 1 year from today. So when you're working with clients, do you typically work in that 1 year cycle, or are you looking at, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years down the road? What does that look like?
Yeah, so normally we'll start with like that 1 year, and then really what I try to do with my clients is break that year down into 30-day processes so that we know exactly. It's so much easier. I know you said too that accountability you kind of fall short on a little bit. That's where I really come into play with helping my clients also, because when we set that 30-day goal, it's a much smaller step, if you wanna call it that, than taking that one big leap into that 1-year goal. But to know what we want also between that 1 year and, like you said, the 5-year, 10-year, especially when I'm working with people who are maybe, around their 45, 55-ish in as far as their age goes, a lot of times they're starting to a little bit lean towards maybe retirement. So then they're pulling in some of those more 5-year, 10-year goals as well. And it's always just so interesting because if we're looking at something and you and I know how fast time flies, I mean, we're talking about the Labor Day weekend coming up here, and before you know it, we're going to be sitting in our desk on Tuesday morning already thinking, where did that weekend go? But even that 5 years goes so fast. So when I sit down with clients and we talk about, we first start trying to look at that 1 year, breaking it back down into 30-year or 30-day goals, but then also really looking forward into the future. So, especially if they're thinking about retirement, or maybe they want to look for a different job, or there's a specific thing that they're really looking towards getting, but it's going to take longer than a year. We want to find out what that vision looks like for them in 5 years or in 10 years. This happens also, especially when I have people who are just early in their career. They're planning on having a baby or growing their family, those types of things as well, because it's very hard to keep that same sustainability that you have going on with your career when a big circumstance changes in your life. So we do kind of take a look at the whole gamut: 30 days, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. But really, once we have somewhat of that vision kind of going, we really drill back and try to find out what is that 30-day goal that we can work on, so that they can see that there's going to be some momentum there. They're going to accomplish that goal quicker. And then we move on to the next 30-day goal.
And yeah, very manageable to think of it in 30-day
Right.
increments, right? Versus, gosh, 5 years. What could I do in 5 years?
Well, and you
And
may have thought
probably
too, like, you may have had a goal too that you were thinking in 5 years, I'm going to do this certain thing. And before you know it, you're 3 years or 4 years into it, and you're like, oops,
right,
forgot to make sure that I was following up and doing what I needed to do. Because once you have that action plan, like we talked about yesterday, once you have that action plan and you're following through, you're going to be going through the motions to really get to that point. But if you just think about that goal in 5 years and really do nothing, don't set an action plan, don't take any steps towards it, time will fly by. And before you know it, 5 years is gone and you don't have that goal that you were thinking about getting.
right. And especially if you're a business owner, small business owner, or a small firm, and your head's down, right, doing your thing. Next thing you know, you're like, wow, like you just said, it's Labor Day weekend. Seriously? How's that possible?
Exactly.
So let's look at questions 7 through 12, and I'll read those first this time. And just, all right, so question 7 is, what will achieving this goal make possible for you in the future? Are you willing to learn how to embrace the question 8? Are you willing to learn how to embrace the discomfort you feel and continue taking action anyway so that you can achieve your goals? Question 9, is your goal part of a bigger goal? Question 10, what category do you want to focus on? Career, fitness, spiritual, family, relationships, financial, health, personal development? Number 11, does your goal inspire you? And number 12, does your goal fit in with your values and other goals? Let's go back to number 9. Um, Actually, 9 and 10 both. So, do you find as you start working with people that they kind of have nested, or if they have goals, are they nested like that? Is I have this short-term goal that's part of a long-term goal, or is it just, oh, I want to have, $2.5 million in 10 years?
That's a lot of times how it comes in originally, having that
Yeah.
2.5 million dollars. But what we have to do is really break it down. So often, like you said, it's more of a nested goal. It's something that we're working on in that shorter amount of time that is a part of a bigger goal. Maybe it's they want to get enough experience to start their own business. Maybe it's that they want to become partner or manager of the firm that they're working at. Some of those are bigger goals, but that means that they maybe need to work on something like acquiring different skills, making sure they're getting the experience, those types of things. But if they don't have that on their radar, it's easily going to slip by. And before you know it, that opportunity comes and maybe it will go pass them right by because they didn't get what they needed to get to really get to the bigger goal that they kind of had. And it really depends too. I know, like you said, question number 10 really asks like what category that you're looking at focusing your goals in. There's a lot of career goals that we work on, but I would say just as many personal goals that people are working on also in their lives. So many accountants, especially high stress professionals, they don't have those hobbies or those the personal interests that they're working on. And so many people will come to me and they'll be like, I really want to really start getting a goal of having a hobby of some sort, or making sure that I'm able to kind of do these other things other than having work, because it seems like work just consumes them altogether. So we really start taking a look at like what are things that you like doing, and so often, and it's kind of sad, but so often they're like, I'm not even sure. Like, I don't take that much time. When I do find myself not having something to do, I'm uncomfortable, so I go back to working again because We kind of talked yesterday too about that comfort zone, but really moving out of that comfort zone and doing things that are uncomfortable for yourself to be able to kind of grow a little bit more as a person and really make sure that you're reaching those goals that you're stretching to kind of reach also. But it is very often that people are just not sure about what their wants are in their life in general.
Yeah. So do you normally, because there's what, one, two, three, four, five, six, you got eight categories there. Do you work with people typically in like multiple categories at a time, or do you try to get, hey, let's get hyper focused on whatever, your fitness goal. Let's get that dialed in, and then we'll add a spiritual goal or whatever. Or do we go, hey, here's my top five goals for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I normally, whenever we do have more than one goal that people are looking at, I really try to break that down each month to make sure that we're working on one specific. So, say if it's something that they want to do for their career and they know that they want to do something for their health, maybe they want to start exercising more or doing things like that, really
Mhm.
starting to make sure that we're picking one of them and focusing on them at least for that first 30 days, if not the next 30 days as well, but just making sure that we're getting good habits kind of set up, especially when it comes to exercise, eating healthy, all of those things, because you can easily work on two goals at a time. Once that first goal, you have those habits kind of set. And then you know that you're working towards that additional goal also, but still holding kind of like keeping all the balls in the air kind of thing. But once they kind of get used to or start building some of those habits in, and they know that these habits, like yesterday, we talked about having a 30-day protocol for healthy eating. Once you kind of have that 30 days down, that next 30 days is going to be a little bit easier than just starting from scratch because you've got some of that discomfort that you've kind of went through. You stopped maybe eating as many candy bars as you normally would throughout the day. Maybe you stopped drinking the pop, those types of things. The second 30 days that they're working on that same goal is going to be much easier than that first 30 days. But really making sure that I'm holding them accountable, that they're looking back at the reasons why that they want to be able to reach these goals, those types of things also. But we can work on multiple goals at the same time, but it is a lot more efficient and it seems like we achieve them faster when we can be laser focused on one specific goal at a time.
Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna go to 13 through 18. So 13, is this the right time to take this goal on in your life? 14, where can you place your goal where you can see it daily? Number 15, ask yourself every day what it will be like when you achieve the goal. 16, make a list of everything you need to do to accomplish your goal. 17, are you ready to take action on your goal? And 18, what obstacles do you think you'll encounter? So historically, or like when you're working with clients on these questions, um, do you find that I'm going to 18. Do you find, and that question was, what obstacles do you think you'll encounter? Do you find that they underestimate or overestimate the obstacles that they will encounter?
You know, that one's kind of funny because a lot of times, especially if they think it's a pretty hard goal, it's a big stretch for them, they'll come up with all kinds of obstacles. And some of them are obstacles that may not even happen. But it's good for them to even just get that out. Like, we'll do some brainstorming and just find out, like, what are things that you're thinking that are going to come up? And they'll come up with all these different things, and then we can jot them down and be ready for them. So, if this happens, like, what will you do? Or if this happens, what are things that we can do to make sure that we can keep moving forward? And we'll have those kinds of things set up, and then realistically, they never even happen. So it can go lean more that way where somebody's like, I just know I'm not going to be able to get to this goal. It's something that I really want, but there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this that they're coming up with. And on the other hand, sometimes people just are oblivious. They're just not even thinking about any obstacles that could possibly come up. And at times too, I'll help them with that also. Like I'll be like, well, what if this happens or what if that happens kind of thing. And easily we just kind of work through those types of things, but just to help them be more prepared, because the more proactive you can be about getting your goal, the less reactive you're going to have to be on the opposite end of things. So, making that list and figuring out any of those obstacles and then what the strategies are to really be able to get around them is so helpful. And most times when people go through that list, they start getting that mindset that they're unstoppable, like nothing's going to stop them, even if something comes up. and they might have had 5 different obstacles listed, and maybe a sixth one comes up that they never even thought about. But because we've gone through how we're going to strategize and really move through any of those other obstacles, they know that there's a strategy for that sixth one that they never even thought about thinking about in the
Yeah.
first place.
Oh, I like that. And then thinking about number 13, which is this the right time to take this goal on in your life? So like maybe adding a new room on your home may not be the best time to do it if you have a newborn in the house, right? So,
Right. Right. Yep.
so
And sometimes people just don't think about that or think about the circumstances that are having happening in their life. Or maybe they're just taking too much on at one time. Like maybe they're getting married, the baby's coming, all these different things that are happening. And then they think that they should be able to put an extra goal on top of it where realistically is just causing too much stress for them. And to really just take advantage of the life that they're living and making sure that things are going well. And then once everything kind of gets settled with different things that are happening within their life, then it's a good time to start working towards those goals again.
gotcha. All right. So we're going to go 19 through 24, and then we will wrap this up. So number 19, do you have limiting beliefs preventing you from reaching your goal? Number 20, and I bet there's a lot that have that. Number 20, what is between you and your goal right now? 21, what is hard about this obstacle? 22, what do you think you need help with to overcome your obstacles? 23, can you create a strategy from each obstacle? 24, do you believe that change, growth, and achievement are possible with your goals? And and I like that you have that one as 24. It could probably be number one and number 24, right? Because if you don't believe it, you know it's not going to happen.
Right.
And it seems that, I think we're all capable of doing so much more than we actually end up accomplishing. And I think if you have a track to go on like this, or a guide, a coach like yourself, it's going to be I'm not gonna say it's going to be easier, but well, I don't know. Easier might be the right word. It's, I would think, more attainable because again, you have somebody who's holding you accountable. You have somebody who is that, that person in your ear going, "Oh, by the way, did you look at your goals this morning? And did you put down the ice cream and, and pick up the carrots? That accountability really drives success or can help drive that success. So of these six, again, that's probably the one that jumps out at me the most. And do you really believe it? Do you believe that this goal is attainable? And are you willing to go for it and to build the plan to get there? So any of
Yeah.
those stick out to you?
Yeah. In that 24, that's kind of the reason that I have that on there as the last one also. And like anytime that I'm working on, like, say I have a potential client that comes in and we're talking just to find out if it's going to be a good fit for me to work with them to work with me. That's one of the things that I specifically ask them also is, do you have the belief? And whether it's goals or it's stress management, time management, whatever it is that we're working on, do you believe that you can do this? And also, like, are you committed to making sure that you're doing it? Because if you're not necessarily committed or don't believe that it's going to happen, we need to do some work even before we start working on any of these goals or anything like that. So, I do think just in general, making sure that you have that belief, like once you do set that goal, if you're setting a goal number one, more than likely you have a belief that you can obtain it more than likely. Because
Yeah.
there's so many people that don't even, like I talked yesterday a little bit about the possibilities. They don't even think that things are a possibility. But when you open your mind up and something does become a possibility, and then you just set that action plan to be able to really start going towards it, it just makes it that much easier because it is something that you're believing in, you're expecting, you're anticipating. We kind of talked about that yesterday too in the presentation. But if you don't have that belief, it's going to be that much harder. And that's where a lot of those limiting beliefs come into play. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. Other people can do it, but I can't do it. Those types of things kind of start popping in also. But as long as we can like pry that door open a little tiny bit and they can see that there is even the slightest bit of belief or anticipation or something that they know that they can get to that goal, it just makes a world of a difference in there. And I just want to add too, I know you had said with the accountability, how, thinking that somebody's going to be calling you or asking you about if you're working towards your goal or putting down the ice cream, grabbing the carrot, those types of things. It's so funny that when I'm talking with my clients, we normally meet on a weekly basis. And when the clients get on the phone, a lot of times they're telling me, I had to hurry up and get this done before we met because I knew we were going to be talking about it. So they're kind of doing it on their own anyway. But if we didn't have that call, how many weeks would slide by before they would really get a chance to work on what it is that they needed to work on? So that accountability is truly a big piece, making sure that you are following through with your plan because it's so easy to get into that discomfort and just back off, like go back into your comfort zone and not really move forward. So I do think that is a big piece of it. And I just love how, even though my clients think that I'm holding them accountable, they're being accountable just because they know that they're calling and talking to me too. So
Right.
it's great.
Yeah. Just the thought of having to look at you and go, "Oh, I didn't do it because I chose to, go fishing." That would be my problem.
And I'm such a
So
strict coach. Like I'm very personable. It's not like people have to
yeah,
be afraid to come and talk to me or anything like that. So it is funny to see that happening, but I think it's a good thing too.
yeah. But in so many cases, people aren't answerable to others, especially in the accounting profession, because there's so many small firms, right? And if it's me and I'm doing my daily, who am I accountable to?
Right,
Myself, but I'm probably a terrible accountability partner for myself because I'm just saying, yeah, go do more work,
right.
um, which takes us off the long term. So, all
Mhm.
right, so we want to wrap this up. How do people find you?
You can go to financialadventure.com. If you want to send an email, you can just email info@financialadventure.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn under Christine Panek. Very formal there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you also have a podcast.
I do. Well, I actually have two. So I have the Mastering Your Small Business Finances podcast that is geared mostly towards business owners to help them really understand balance sheets, financial statements, things like that, to help them get their bookkeeping up to date, those types of things. And then I also have a private podcast called Mastering Your Mindset Moments, which is geared towards high stress professionals to really help them with some of their mindset, different things that they're doing, help reduce that some of that stress that they're working with all the time and really just try to create a life that they're going to enjoy more so than having to be stressed and working all the time.
And you say that's private. Is that private to people who are in your coaching program or private to people that have to register? What?
Yep, you just have to register to be able to get that podcast, and you can get that on my website also, financialadventure.com/private. So
Great. All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much. We do have, I don't have the calendar, but you've got another one of these, your follow up. The second session's probably 3 months, 2 months. I don't remember off the top of
I
my
want to
head.
say it's like December 18th, 19th, I think are the dates. So
That sounds
right
about
before
right.
the beginning of the year, we're going to be working on really kind of like in this four-step process. During this webinar, we really worked on step number 3, kind of overcoming some of those obstacles, the limiting beliefs. But at the end of the year, we're going to be working really hard at setting those new goals because January will be right around the corner. So we'll really work on setting goals for the upcoming tax season and upcoming year. So
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you very soon. Thank you, Chris.
sounds good. Thanks, Gary.